Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we have assembled here once again. And tonight we are going to talk about one of my favourite comedies of all time. It's from the 90s. It's The Vicar of Dibley. And we're talking about the very first episode, The Arrival. And let's kick off straight with Brian. Brian, what did you make of this episode of The Vicar of Dibley? I know this is your first time actually watching any of the episodes of this series. So tell us what you think about this one.
I don't get it. I just thought I don't really like it. I mean, I watched it and it didn't really suit, or it just didn't really suit me, and I didn't really get it. Didn't get the humor, didn't get the story, none of all of that. I just found it a bit dull and boring. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Just didn't suit me. Maybe I'm just mostly used to like American comedies and American movie comedies and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, but how can you not get the story? It's a fairly simple story, to be honest, Brian. I mean, one vicar dies and the new vicar comes along and it's a woman. That's the story.
Yeah,
but never mind.
A bit like Doctor Who.
I know. I just, I guess I don't get Brit comedy. I just get American.
Right, Brian's now banned from this group. Let's go.
What are you talking about? I gave my opinion.
Yeah, no. I'm grateful for your opinion. It's just the wrong opinion. Let's go to Susan and Alex.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, Vicar of Dibley is phenomenally hilarious. I love Dawn French, and I've loved her partner, Jennifer Saunders, for a long time. And she and Joanna Lumley did absolutely fabulous, which we reviewed. And also she and Jennifer Saunders did French and Saunders. But in this case, she's playing a character. It's not just like sketch comedy or whatever. This is, a character who is, a really very up-to-date, up-to-the-minute, very cool, very hip vicar of the Church of England who moves to the smallest village in the nation. I mean, literally, it's like no bigger than a postage stamp, and she kind of shocks all these old biddies and farmers and people with bowel issues into just a bunch of hijinks. So it's really quite amusing, and I like this Arrival episode. And here's Alex.
I do like Dawn French in other roles. My mother likes this program a lot, and of course it does have some people that were in Doctor Who, and it does have Peter Capaldi that was Doctor Who. But yeah, the humor I didn't really like. I understand that it is a well-written comedy, especially I know that there's one new show coming in the fall on CBS again, where they're going to try to have sort of a religious subtext. And this series is religious without hitting people over the head about it. And she is flexible in the sense that she's not, quoting, she's not like some people where they're quoting Bible verses every other second or whatever. But yeah, the show never really appealed to me because I don't think the two mix. And I'd much rather be watching French and Saunders making fun of Star Wars or Baywatch or whatever. I'd rather watch Absolutely Fabulous, which she also had a few scenes on as well. But yeah, it's my mother likes it. I guess Susan likes it. I don't really like it, so I rarely watch it. I just don't want any religious subtext, I think.
Right, that's another member not coming back next week. So Susan, you're going to do a solo now. Let's go to Stephen Price.
I didn't find it funny at all, I'm afraid. I prefer Father Ted. Every few sentences they were saying, you know, you could hear people laughing. No, it's not for me. I'm very sorry.
Right, that's another member gone. Well, we're going to be very light next week, Lee, so we better make other plans at this rate. I mean, come on, this is depressing me now. Let's go to Beef Dad. Hopefully this gets a little better.
Well, the whole idea of the Vicar of Dibley was based on the experiences of Joy Carroll, who was one of the first women to be ordained by the Church of England. I remember her before she was ordained. She was really sweet. Her father was the vicar of St. Luke's Church in West Norwood, where I grew up. And he'd taken over from the previous vicar who'd fallen off a cliff and died. And the Reverend Carroll was a really nice guy, and I was soloist in the choir there, and I also became a member of the parochial church council. So yeah, as I say, Joy was his daughter. A very clever girl who eventually went on to become one of the first ordained priests, female priests in the Church of England. And a lot of this was based on her experiences of her first parish. So a lot of these characters, the similarity to a lot of the characters is bang on. Joy now lives in America. She married in America, and she's now I can't remember what he is. I think he's some kind of scientist. But Joy's married to him. She's now Joy Carroll Wallace. And yeah, I love this. I love this because when she turns up at the church council meeting, and the guy who was head of the church council at the time, his reaction, Mr. Horton, is very, very similar to the reaction of an awful lot of people to women being made made priests. He didn't approve, and this is very much what Joy was up against. Also, you had Roger Lloyd Pack playing Owen, who he was a farmer, and he really just didn't censor. There was no self-censorship with him. He would say what was going through his head, and it didn't really matter what it was, he would say it. It's brilliant. You had the stutterer, you have the one who turns out to be gay, you have the mad old woman who is hysterical, and she just gets funnier and funnier as the series goes on. And then, of course, you've got Alice, she's the verger. And yeah, Joy had a female verger, and yeah, the humour in it, I think, is brilliant. It's very, very British humour, so I can understand why Brian doesn't understand it, and possibly Stephen, and definitely Alex, because it is very, very British humour. It is so tightly British that I can understand why people living in other countries, even though one of those countries is Wales, why they will not understand the humour of it.
Yes, Mrs. Cropley, the Dibley poisoner. Oh,
Yes,
she was.
brilliant.
Shame they killed her off.
The humour is better in Step to One Sun, Rising Damp on the Buses. This was pathetic. Sorry.
Okay, let's go to Lee. He sounded like he was travelling down a tunnel. He's going further and further away. See you, Stephen. He started off really close. And he started.
Right. What do you want me to say about this then?
Just say that you love it and that it's really funny, and that Alex is wrong, and that Stephen is absolutely crazy because he's a Tom Jones fan, and that Brian doesn't know what comedy is.
What it is? I'm not a fan of the Vicar of Dibley.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
No,
Lee, I'm afraid to tell you, you're not coming back next week either.
Let me finish. I never used to sit down and watch it. You know, I wasn't an avid viewer of the programme when it was on TV. I used to catch it every now and again, you know, if I was flicking on the channel or I was in it when it was on the screen, and I used to watch it then. I wasn't an avid viewer of it. That's what I'm trying to say. I can understand what Beef Dad said. It is a British comedy, and I can understand why some people don't get that humour. In saying that, Don French is a comic genius, along with her partner, Jennifer Saunders. They've paved the way for many new comics. Yeah, there is some good bits in this. There are some brilliant actors in it. As I said, this is the first episode. I can't remember if I ever saw this when it was broadcast in 1994, to be honest. But yeah, there is some funny bits. For me, I always remember the bit at the end after the credits with the joke. The joke at the end of every episode. I always remember them. I don't know why they always stick in my mind, but and this one's no exception with the nun in the bath joke. But yeah, it's a good episode. I can't really say much more about it, Alid, because I wasn't. You know, how many series did this last?
It was only on for 2 seasons, I think. 2 series, that's all.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It had a lot of specials instead.
Yeah, they had a lot of specials, so that I think it made up the difference. Unfortunately, 3 of the cast members died off, so there's not much point in bringing it back at right now. However, they did try to do an American version, but Fox filmed it, but they didn't continue with it. They wanted Kirstie Alley as the star, but thankfully they didn't air it.
Yeah, no, it's not coming back. It's definitely not coming back. I mean, for a start, the ones that are alive are like in their 70s, 80s, nearly 90s. And like Alex says, some of them are dead now, sadly. So yeah, Lee, have you found out?
Well,
I think it was only on for 2.
It's a bit confusing because it names producers of Series 3, Series 2, Series 1. So,
because I know there's been a lot of specials.
Yeah,
they've had a good number of specials. They've had a lot of.
It says 2 series, but then it's naming the producer of Series 3. I don't get that. 10 specials.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of specials. Yeah, my favourite. Do you know what? The Vicar of Dibley has my favourite Christmas episode of anything, where she goes and has all those meals out. And, oh, it's hilarious. That is my favourite Christmas special of any show. But I have to say, I remember watching the Vicar of Dibley when it first aired, at least season 2 anyway. I was in primary school at the time, and I loved it then, and I absolutely love it now. It is totally my humour. And I think all the actors that play these parts are perfect. I mean, the guy who plays Jim Trott is just perfection. No, yes. I mean, there's so many funny moments with him. And in another episode, you actually see his wife. And then you've got Frank. And he's just hilarious as well. When they're all in the town hall, the village hall, and the minutes, and it's just absolutely hilarious. You know what? This is actually my favourite comedy. This is my favourite comedy above anything else. I mean, I like loads of all the old classic ones like Dad's Army, Fawlty Towers. But actually, this is my favourite comedy. And I haven't seen it in a little while, but this just reconfirms why it's my favourite comedy. I mean, I was just laughing throughout the whole thing. Stephen said that there was laughter that put him off. I think that was me, Stephen, because I was laughing that loud. I mean, seriously.
Sorry.
I find the Vicar of Dibley absolutely hilarious. Dawn French is amazing in this. This is the best thing she's ever done, in my opinion. And there's a lot of heart behind the series as well. There's a lot of emotional moments. Because to begin with, David is trying to get rid of her. But then that softens as the series goes on, and he wants her there. And it does have some heart to it. Well, it's written by Richard Curtis, isn't it? So, I mean, he's a great comedy writer. Let's go to favourite moments, if we have any. Let's go to favourite moments. Lee, do you have any particular joke that you liked?
Well, I mean, I do like Liz Smith. I mean, sadly, she's no longer with us.
The sandwiches, yeah.
What sandwich? What is it? Lemon curd. With the ham, and that little scene where she turns out to be the Lady Godiva in the naked on the horse. But yeah, there is little bits here and there. And it's Owen with his downstairs problems all the time, and also Hugo, James Fleet. Nobody's mentioned James Fleet. Brilliant actor, and you can see why they sort of paired him and what's her name? Is it Alice?
Alice, yeah.
Alice up together in Litters, because they work so well together, and he's put on by his dad, of course, all the time. The scene in that one is in the village hall meeting, and he's David Orton's saying, "No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But I'll veto the one for my son's collection of whatever he was doing." So all the village hall money goes to that instead of going towards other charity things. Yeah, it was a good episode, but as I said, I was not an avid fan. If I was back then, I most would be doing a bit more praise for it.
Let's go to, well, Brian's not going to have any. Are you, Brian? Let's see. Let's find out. Do you have any moment that you did like, that you did think that was funny?
Me?
Yes, you. Yes, you're the only Brian here. Thank God.
No. Why? That's not right.
Go on then. There must be a line you thought, oh, that was funny.
No, not really. I mean,
I was too busy on the internet.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't. Because if you don't actually sit down and watch a comedy, you're not going to find that comedy funny.
I watched this episode on the internet, Lee. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you, where did you watch it on? What?
Motion.
Oh, wait there. There might be a reason why I didn't find it funny then. Because it's out of sync.
Yeah.
And with comedy's all about timing and reaction. And if the audio is out of sync, then that ruins comedy.
But also as well, it does help if you watch the 30-minute episode instead of 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, but the fact that you watched it out of sync.
What do you mean I watched it out of sync?
Yeah. Not out of a sync. Out of sync as in the voices.
Yeah, I know, but what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, the voices don't match with the movements of the mouth. Because there's a delay on the voices.
What, you've seen it on Daily Motion?
Yes, it's out of sync on Daily Motion if you watch it on Daily Motion, yeah.
I just clicked on Daily Motion because that's the first thing that came up, and I thought it'd be the quickest and easiest thing to do.
So you really must have been paying attention, Brian, to not notice that it was out of sync. If you were paying attention, you'd realise it's out of sync.
I didn't even know or realize that it was out of sync.
You weren't paying attention then, were you?
I was too.
Let's go to Alex and Susan.
Thank you, mister. Let me tell you what my favorite bits are. My favorite bits are when she's talking about how she fell in love with Jesus, and she was going along and she thought she'd be a rock star or something else, and then all of a sudden she heard the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes, and she was like, "Oh, I want to do that for the rest of my life." And that was. To me, that was absolutely lovely. I mean, I feel the same way. When I met Jesus, it was like the same thing. Anyway, and I really like, God rest her soul, the woman who played her assistant, Alice. She was a sweetheart, and the how chic and sophisticated the vicar was compared to Alice, who was innocent and completely clueless. I mean, in a real way, like really sheltered, kind of in a bubble. I just think that those two, the interplay between those two, are so cool. Especially the joke at the end, where the vicar always, after the credit scene, and the vicar always tells a joke at the end, and Alice is all like, and then she kept on laughing and laughing and laughing, because when you first discover something that's really funny, Brian, when you discover that you found a joke that absolutely tickles your funny bone, then you go for it and you totally laugh your face off. And anyway, I laughed my face off. I love the old lady, and I love the old guy who but the one that I feel for the guy with the bowel issue, because for the first 6 episodes he just can't get his stomach straight, and I just feel for that. And it's so heartwarming. It's so lovely. And it speaks to me, my life in so many ways. John French is, amazing. This isn't my favorite comedy. I disagree with Alex or Alan a little bit. This isn't my favorite comedy. But it is really, really classy, good, sweet, sophisticated, especially when all those rock stars come and they're trying to get Sir Elton to come later on in the series. These are brilliant things. Anyway, those are my favorite moments. And here's Alex.
Okay, and I love British comedy. I just didn't like the way they did it here. I sympathize with the way that they had to sort of balance both the secular and the non-secular. I understand that the guy is prejudiced toward
It's
Don
not
French's
non-secular,
character.
it's sacred.
Well, whichever. I'm Besides, don't follow it anyway. I do like Dawn French, but I want her to do more secular type of jokes. But it is a good show. It just doesn't appeal to me. I love British comedy. I like the way they write it usually. Love the way they write it usually. I do like the jokes at the end. But obviously, just like with anything fictional, you need a contrast. So you need a guy that isn't, liking her at the beginning. You need a simpleton. Not that that's a bad thing in this case, because you need contrast. You can't have everybody exactly the same. And plus, it's a village, too. But again, I did like the jokes at the end. I did like when Kylie Minogue was on the program. I did like the special where Alice gets married. So it's not that I don't like it at all. It's just I'd rather be watching Monty Python or Faulty Towers or a lot of other things beside this. I'd rather be watching, and I'd rather be watching. No, not Mr. Bean. I'd rather be watching science fiction. I think that's more worth my time than a comedy. But like I said, I like keeping up appearances. I like Love Thy Neighbor. There's a lot of other shows that many people haven't talked about because they haven't been seen since 1976. So there's a lot of different things. But like I said, they made a good effort. It's good writing. It is good actors. It's just not for me.
I like the animal one too, where they have the open day for the animals. That one's good. Stephen, have we been to you for favourite moments? I can't remember.
There's two bits I did laugh at. The guy that played Trigger in Only Fools and Horses, I can't remember.
Owen, yeah.
You'll name the times he went to the toilet. And the part in the church after Dawn French has done the church service. She was talking to a couple of them, and the old woman said about she'd been naked or something.
Yeah,
but I do prefer Father Ted to this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same time as Father Ted, really, isn't it? This was similar, yeah, late 90s.
95, I think, Father Ted came out.
Yeah, this is about the same time. This is a year before. This is 94, I think.
And of course, you have sorry, Alan, you have the simple housemaker. They will repeat the joke where she comes up to Father Ted and says, "Would you like some cookies and tea?" And it's got cocaine in it. And he goes, "What?" But Father Ted is a lot more profane. There's a lot more swearing and a lot more. The humor is a lot more nasty than Vicar of Dibley.
But the Vicar of Dibley, you see, these villages with these characters, they really do exist in these. A lot of villages have these type of characters in them.
There's a church just up the road from me, and they had an open day 2 years ago, and I went up there, and it was a woman priest there.
Oh, there you go. Thanks for that, Stephen. Let's go to beef.
And I'm not religious at all. Sorry.
You just thought you'd go to church. Let's go to beef, Dad.
Yeah. I loved the arrival of Roger Lloyd Pack at the committee meeting. That was brilliant. Going on about how he was sorry he was late, but he spent all the time on the toilet. And of course, the other thing that Roger Lloyd Pack was in Doctor Who. He played John Lumick.
Cybus Company, right?
Yes, the cyber company. But the thing is, what I loved about this and what I looked forward to every episode was the church council meeting, because the combination of characters that you've got there is just absolutely brilliant. And you've got to remember that this is based on fact. A lot of it is based on the memoirs of Joy Carroll, and because she had plenty to write about, with being basically one of the first women vicars. And yeah, the Dawn French is brilliant as Geraldine. She is absolutely superb. I met her before she'd done this, while she was still working with Jennifer Saunders. It was before they went on to television. It was when they were doing small theatres and small venues, and she was so much fun. And when I heard that she was doing the Vicar of Dibley, I thought, I've got to watch this, and I was so glad that I did. She's excellent as Geraldine. She gets funnier and funnier all the way through it. I love the Easter one. You mentioned the Christmas one. I love the Easter one with her as the Easter Bunny. That is just so hysterical. And of course, there is the one where she is getting involved with a bloke. I can't remember his name now. And she does the famous walk. She's having a walk, and there is a puddle there, and she thinks that she's going to just splash in a puddle, and she jumps in this puddle and completely disappears and goes underwater and then up again. That is just so funny. She did some brilliant stuff, some brilliant physical comedy, as well as the written humour. And the one with the ballet dancer from the Royal Ballet, with her mirroring the ballet dancer, was just absolutely brilliant. There is just so much in this. Of course, Liz Smith went on to play Grandma in what's he called?
The Royal Family.
Royal Family. But yes, I remember a particular one with she had sandwiches, and they were sweet sandwiches, and they had what's those little salty fish?
Anchovies?
Anchovies. Yeah. They were sweet sandwiches, but she put anchovies in them. She's absolutely raving mad. She's brilliantly funny. But as I say, the combination, because I mean, you've got David Horton, played by Gary Walter, who is absolutely deathly serious. John Bluthal, most of the time, was quite businesslike. Hugo is, bless him, he's a bit on the vague side, but dedicated. Alice is, well, she's a total eccentric. Alice is a total eccentric. She's brilliant, and the performance was amazing. And then, of course, Trevor Peacock with the stutter was just hysterical. Yeah, it was just a brilliantly combined group of characters.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to take one of Beef Dad's words. This is comedy magic to me. All of the Vicar of Dibley is comedy magic. And really, Beef Dad has summed it up perfectly, really, how I feel about the series, with all the characters and the way they interact, especially in the village hall. You just get some of the funniest scenes and dialogue, and the way they just bounce off each other is absolutely amazing. And Dawn French does a lot of physical stuff as well, like Beef Dad mentioned, the puddle. I mean, that gets shown everywhere on clip shows when it comes to what, like, the most funniest comedy scenes of all time. And it's hilarious. Susan, you look like if you were going to explode during Beef Dad mentioning meeting Dawn French. Yes.
Because she is amazing, and because Beef Dad is amazing. So I would, me wanting to be a fly on the wall just to see that. I was just so cool. Anyway,
I've got a question, and this is going to be an open.
Wait a minute. Did Lee get a chance to do his favorite bits?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he went first.
Oh, okay.
I just want to know, are we amazing as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thank you.
I think that was a bit forced. Actually, I do have one more question. This is going to be an open question. Dawn French said about a year or two ago that they might do, and it's probably not going to happen, but this is just a question. Would you like it's gone out of my mind now, the Bishop of Dibley? Would you like a spin-off called the Bishop of Dibley?
Okay, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
Beef Dad?
Well, I'd love to see it, yes. I mean, but the thing is, it will be completely unreal, as it were, because, as I say, for many years now, Joy has lived in America. And so she never became a bishop in England.
Well, and also, wouldn't Dibley have grown into a small little city instead of staying this little itty bitty teeny tiny village?
No, I doubt.
No. A lot of these villages stay as villages.
Yeah.
But the problem with that as well is you've got, I'd say, roughly about 3 of the main cast.
Yeah. But the thing is with that, I don't think it would just be Dawn French who returns, because it'd have to be. It couldn't be. The others couldn't return. There's 3 of them that are no longer with us, and some of them are nearly 90.
Look at how brilliant Open All Hours was, and look what they've done to that.
Yeah, but to be fair, you've still got the main lead of the Vicar of Dibley, whereas we're still Open All Hours. The main lead died,
and there were none of the main cast, right?
In still Open All Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
That should never have been made. It's absolute rubbish.
But Vicar of Dibley or Bishop of Dibley could legitimately happen. It's just the trouble with church politics is that if you're a vicar of a teeny tiny little village, how in the heck are you going to become a bishop? That's just my theory.
You get promoted in the church.
Yeah, but
but you get promoted by moving to a bigger parish.
Well, yeah.
That's the way actual, Church of England politics works. Is that you're promoted to bigger and bigger parishes until you're a regional bishop.
They can also increase the size of the parish. If other vicars die off, they can merge parishes, and they do merge parishes. So you can logically say that she would end up with a bigger parish.
I just have a hard time, because she would have had the way that she would have had to go back to Dibley would be like she went to all these bigger and bigger parishes, and then because of needing to take care of one of her original parishioners, she'd go back. That would be the only way, because
no, because she would have a bigger parish, but she would be based in Dibley.
But also as well, it also could be, if it's like a one-off, it could be where she is a bishop, but she's coming back to Dibley as a reunion.
Yeah, this is the thing. I would do it as a one-off. I would do it as a special, you know, a New Year special or whatever. Because the way I look at it, look, they might as well bring it back, because there's no other comedy on television. What other comedies have the BBC got? I can't think of a single BBC comedy that's still going.
Good question.
I really can't think of a BBC comedy.
Well, it's not just BBC, Alan. It's
No, I can't think. Exactly. And I think in times like this, we need comedy programs. And I think they should bring back.
Yeah, I mean, they have as a one. Yeah, they've brought back, you know, Are You Being Served, even though it was a horrible version. They brought back Porridge. They brought back.
Yeah, but if you got to remember, those were absolutely recreating the cast. You've got to remember, Dawn French is still alive, and the writer is still alive.
Well, but she's hitting 60, so I mean, does she really want to commit to filming? You know.
Yes, she
12,
would do.
14,
Yeah, she said
20.
she would do. Yeah,
Okay,
she would do.
well,
she would do like that. She'll do like that.
Okay, but the other issue is, if 3 of the famous cast members have died, then they either have to replace them, or they have to figure out another way.
No, it'd be new characters. It will be her with new characters.
And the other thing, technically, isn't this, you know, this is 94. When was the last full episode that they did on BBC?
2010.
So, yeah, so in other words, you're talking about something that might have a 20-year gap. So they would have to figure out how to.
Was 2010.
I know, I heard you.
No, wait, I think it's something like 2012, if I remember.
Yeah, so
it wasn't because they brought it back for several specials over the years.
Right, and also comic relief and all that. So I understand that, but that's what, 5 or 10 minutes. It's not a whole series.
No, but the last was the wedding that Alice Tinker had with the Daleks. Was that in 2009?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
Remember now.
Yeah, I think it was. I
remember she was dressed up as David Tennant.
Yeah, because they also had a Spice Girls song as well that they were singing a little bit of.
Yeah, so that was the last full episode. But then you had like
the last
10 minutes.
1998.
Yeah, so
1998.
So
that was the last series episode.
Last episode. Then the last special was 2007.
So that was the wedding then.
So you're talking about 10 years at least. So, I mean, that's the other question. How are they going to bring that back and modernize it, but at the same point, you know, bring back the hardcore audience as well?
I think they can do it.
If they bring it back as a special at a festive time like Christmas, people will watch. Will get views because there's nothing else on at Christmas.
No.
Well, except for what's her name, Catherine Tate, right? She does the specials of now.
She hasn't done specials for years.
She hasn't done a TV show for about 10 years.
No, but she does the specials, doesn't she?
No, she doesn't. She hasn't done them for donkey's years.
No, I thought she did one.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't done one in ages.
Well,
she used to.
The last special she did, I think, was the Nan's Christmas special.
That's from when was that? We reviewed that recently, 2009, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had one with where she was going to anger management class or whatever.
That was a few years ago now.
Yeah.
That was many years ago now.
Oh, well.
There are no comedies at Christmas, Alex. There's no comedy on Christmas Day.
So why does the BBC, that used to be known for so many comedies, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s...
Because that's when they used to do them.
20 years after, they don't want to do them anymore? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So if we just get this back, then at least we'll have some...
So wait a minute, though. You have that Mrs. Brown Boys, even though even though that is an impersonation or whatever. But I mean, They just feel that they don't have an audience for it anymore, maybe?
I just don't think they've got the talent. I don't think they've got the talented comedy writers.
And well, maybe they're worried that it's not modern enough, maybe.
Or maybe they're worried about offending people. But you know, the great thing about British comedy is that it is never minced words or worried about offending people. I mean, the British Empire was super, super uncomfortable on so many levels, but it's super funny.
Well, but
And we reviewed that too about 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that was the 80s, right?
I don't know, but like I'm just saying.
That was the 90s. Hello, not the 80s. That was the 90s.
So again, we're talking about anywhere from a 7 to 20-year gap, and apparently.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when comedy was made. If you, as I keep saying to people, if you take out the offensiveness or whatever of the, you know, you think, oh, that's a bit racist, but people laugh at it. If you take stuff out like that, it's not funny anymore, and people say, oh, you should be laughing at that, but that's comedy.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, the things that can be seen as racist, the reason why they're funny is because that person is making themselves look a fool, and is why they are, and that's why they are funny. A lot of people don't understand comedy.
Good, as we keep saying, good example of what you just said there, like, is Love Thy Neighbour.
Yes.
He, you know, Jack Smithhurst was the white character, was always having a go at I can't remember, his neighbour, the black guy, but the white guy always came a cropper. He was the one who always ended up in the wrong. But people don't see that now. These people just want to scream, you shouldn't be saying things like this, you shouldn't be... This, you know,
but it was funny because the white guy was racist, but people were laughing at him, and he was always the one that looked stupid in the end. He was always the one that looked stupid in the end, because he was the fool in the end.
Right.
And
I mean, there's a joke in one of the Vicar of Dibley episodes that I shared in the chat as well about Jim marrying a woman ending up to be a man, and I wonder if that would be allowed today.
No, it wouldn't, because
I wonder if that would be allowed, and I just think it wouldn't. And I think they're missing the point. A lot of these people who get very offended are missing the point of why it's funny.
Well, again, though, they don't understand British humor at all. So, and also, they're afraid that it would encourage people, even though it's very hypocritical, because All in the Family not only was the American version of a British show, but then they thought that that was going to incite people to act just like Archie Bunker did, when everybody else in the show knew he was a fool, and even said so.
It's just like,
so that's what the whole thing about Meathead.
Love Thy Neighbor.
The whole thing about Meathead. Well, it's close. That's why Archie called the son-in-law Meathead, and Meathead was upset about the labels that Archie constantly put on people, and all the sneaky, asides that he put on people that, they didn't even deserve it. And that's why it was such a big deal when Sammy Davis Jr., who was in the series twice, but everybody knows that episode where he came to Archie's house and gave him a kiss on the cheek. And that's why it was a big deal, because they thought that, but also the audience put too much, they read too much into Archie's character, like he was a KKK member. He wasn't. He was just ignorant.
Let's go to Beef Dad, because Beef Dad wants to say something.
Yep. Just to clear things up, clear up the confusion. The special wasn't Alice's wedding. The special was the Vickers wedding.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
Alice was dressed as the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who, with 10 Daleks behind her. When Alice got married, her bridesmaids were dressed as Teletubbies.
Yes, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
In fact, that whole episode is hysterical. And she also had a sort of like a tiara thing. And she pressed a button and they all
Yeah, lit up. Yeah.
It was just hysterical. Complete madness. But yeah, the just to clear up the confusion there, it was the special was the Vicar's Wedding.
Yeah, because that's when she flew off at the end, didn't she?
Yes.
Flew into the air, if I remember. Yeah. Yeah. Give us your final say and score, Beef Dad, while you're muted.
Oh, it's just that it really is for me one of the most magical pieces of British comedy. I loved every episode. I watched it every week when it was aired, right from the very start. And it would be lovely to see her back as the Bishop. That would be fun. For me, it gets a 100% gold, 10 out of 10.
And let's go to Alex and Susan, because Alex is desperate.
No, I want to ask. I want to ask the group, but I also want everybody to contribute. What do you think? Is there a way to have English broadcast stations, BBC or ITV or anybody, try to bring back actual comedy shows, or 6 or 7 of them? Could they do it, or is it just they're not brave enough, or they just haven't found a formula that they want to use, or
They're not brave enough. They're not brave enough, and they haven't got the people.
Well, it's a so-called comedy, which me and Alid detest.
Oh, it's not a comedy. I don't call it that.
Absolutely terrible.
Oh, with Lee Mack, it is one of the most unfunniest things I've ever seen.
So you just think they've possibly run out of ideas, except for ITV doesn't have any comedies at all?
No,
it's just Mrs. Brown Boys, and that's it. No, nothing else.
That's BBC, and that's the only comedy on television.
Only one show, really?
Yeah, but that's been finished a good few years now.
Well, yeah, they only do specials now, right?
Yeah, so there's no comedy on TV.
Very strange, because in America they're trying to do 10 million. Of course, a lot of them are even worse than The Big Bang Theory, so they don't last at all.
I mean, to be fair, ITV's never been big on comedy, really. It's always been BBC, but since the 2000s, something went wrong. As soon as the clock hit 2000s, comedy died. For some reason, you had so many great comedies in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Then suddenly, we pass the millennium, and we get nothing. It all evaporated.
So they just lost their nerve? They just don't want to do it anymore?
No idea. Give us your final say and score anyway.
All right. Sorry, go on.
It's the same with music. Music is terrible today. I don't like any of today's music.
Apart from Tom Jones, he's a big Tom Jones fan. Final say and score. Susan, final say and score.
All right, I'll give this a 12 out of 10 for the 12 apostles, for the 12 people that are in the congregation before she comes, and the 1,200 that are there after she gets there. And yeah, so 12 out of 10.
Like I said, I only like a few shows. I don't think this is necessarily written for me. But if this was one of the last 10, then I will give it a 9. Like I said, it does have a good cast. It does have good writing. I just kind of wish it was more secular, and I understand they have to balance that out. If it is a question of they've run out of ideas or they've run out of settings, that's very sad, because BBC and ITV has done a lot of good shows over the decades. But for some reason, I guess after 2000, they're just too sensitive. And you can't write a lot of jokes if you're too sensitive. I mean, you don't have to be racist or nasty. But if you go to the other extreme and say, well, we can't offend anybody for any reason, I don't know what comedies you're going to make, because you have to make a statement of some kind. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, in America, it's different. there's like 10 shows that every network has that they try to push. The problem is, I don't know if they're worried about attention span. I don't know if they're worried about syndication, which I think they are. So a lot of comedies have kind of stayed the same even in this country. They try a lot of different things. Like I can think of 10 shows off the top of my head that CBS has tried to do. And we all know about the ABC Roseanne debacle. She was successful when it came back again, but then she got in the news in a bad way. And now they're talking about reviving the show again for a third time without her. So obviously they've run out of ideas if they can't even come up with a brand new, fresh sitcom. And Friends is gone. Friends was like the last big American sitcom
Never liked
that
it.
everybody was talking about in this country. So, and that ended 1999 maybe or whatever. So I think maybe they can't understand that you can be funny without being either, maybe they're worried it'll be racist or something. I don't know. But they have the same thing. But like I said, I'll give it a 9 because of the cast and the effort. I just wish it was a little different. Maybe I would have liked to seen her in the city more or something like that.
Let's go to Brian.
Yes. My final same score would probably have to be a 2.
Right. Let's go to Stephen Price. Someone's getting booted.
I wouldn't give it a low score like that. I'd give it about, it was good writing, funny in parts. I'd give it a 7.
7, that's pretty decent. And let's go to Lee. Don't tell me you're going to give it a 2, Lee.
I'm going to give it, because I'm going to...
You just muted yourself.
I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8, that's okay. That's pretty good. It's better than a 2. To me, like I've said, this is absolutely comedy magic. It's my favourite comedy of all time for a very good reason. I absolutely adore it. And really, a 10 isn't high enough. A 10's not good enough because when something is funny and something makes you laugh, there's no score for that. There's no score for laughter. Really, is there? When you think about it. If something makes you laugh straight the way through, every minute, and it's just pure joy to watch, then you can't really put a score on that. In my opinion. And especially in this day and age where we all could do with a good laugh. I mean, coming on here. Oh. But you know what? If I do have to give it a score, which I do, it is definitely going to be a magic 10. It's going to be a comedy magic 10. Absolutely all the way. I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you for watching, dear viewer, which is Alex, watching this back. So, hi, Alex. Give yourself a wave, Alex. Good lad.
Oh, no. Wait a minute now. There's more than just 2 people watching this.
There is? Who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No.
sorry. Russia. Hiya, Russia. Russia Intelligence Services. Tell us below what you make of the Vicar of Dibley. Do you love it? Are you like Brian? If you like Brian, actually don't bother commenting below. Look after yourself. Take care. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.